Marcus Chen had been stationed on Outpost Viridian 7 for exactly 3 months when he discovered that his left boot was missing. Not misplaced, not hidden under his bunk. Missing, as in completely vanished from the small prefabricated shelter he called home on this frontier world. The outpost was a research station, barely a dozen structures scattered across a meadow of purple grass beneath twin moons. Marcus worked as a maintenance engineer, which meant he fixed everything from atmospheric processors to coffee makers. It was lonely work, but someone had to keep humanity's foothold on this planet running while the scientists studied the local ecosystem. He stood in his quarters, one boot on, one sock exposed to the cold metal floor, staring at the empty space where his boot should have been. The security logs showed nothing. No breaches, no malfunctions. Just his boot, gone. That's when he heard the chittering sound outside his window. Marcus pressed his face against the reinforced glass and spotted the culprit immediately. Sitting in the purple grass, batting his boot around like a toy, was one of the local fauna. The scientists called them Crevathi, but everyone else called them the cubs because they looked like a bizarre mixture of a bear cub, a raccoon, and something that definitely shouldn't exist. This particular cub had silver-blue fur, 6 legs, and a face that somehow managed to look both adorable and slightly menacing. The creature was about the size of a large dog, with oversized paws that made it look perpetually clumsy. Right now, those paws were enthusiastically shredding the laces on his boot. Marcus sighed, slipped on his spare boots, and headed outside. The airlock hissed open, and he stepped into the crisp evening air of Viridian 7. The gravity was slightly lighter than Earth's, giving his steps a gentle bounce as he approached the cub. "Hey!" he called out. "That's mine." The cub looked up, Marcus's boot dangling from its mouth. Its eyes were too large, too knowing, reflecting the dim light of the setting sun. For a moment, they stared at each other. Then the cub growled, grabbed the boot more firmly, and scurried away toward a cluster of rocks about 50 meters from the outpost. Marcus could have chased it, should have chased it, really. Boots weren't cheap, especially the reinforced ones rated for alien environments. But something about the way the cub had looked at him, protective and determined, made him pause. He followed at a distance, curious now rather than angry. The cub disappeared into a gap between 2 large boulders. Marcus approached carefully, activating his wrist light. The beam illuminated a small den, surprisingly sophisticated with dried grass and leaves arranged in a rough nest. And there, in the center, was his boot, placed carefully among what appeared to be the cub's collected treasures: shiny rocks, a broken piece of solar panel, and several strips of the purple grass woven together. The cub sat beside the den entrance, watching him with those too intelligent eyes. Marcus crouched down, maintaining distance. He'd read the xenobiology reports. Crevathi weren't dangerous to humans, but they were territorial, especially the young ones. This cub was probably recently separated from its parent, trying to survive on its own. "You know what?" Marcus said aloud, more to himself than the cub. "You can keep it." The cub tilted its head, a gesture so familiar it made Marcus smile despite the situation. "Consider it rent," he continued, standing up. "You're living this close to the outpost, might as well contribute something, even if it's just entertainment value." As Marcus walked back to his quarters, he couldn't help but laugh at himself. Here he was, millions of miles from Earth, charging rent to an alien creature in the form of footwear. His mother would have found it hilarious. She'd always said he had a strange sense of humor. The next morning, Marcus woke to find something on his doorstep. At first he thought it was a trick of the light. But no, there it was, a bone. Not a human bone, thankfully, but something that looked like it came from one of the herbivores that grazed in the distant hills. It was clean, bleached white by Viridian 7's sun, and placed directly in front of his door with obvious intentionality. Marcus picked it up, examining it. The bone was curved, about the length of his forearm, with interesting ridges along one side. He looked around and spotted the cub sitting near those same rocks, watching him. "Did you bring this?" he called out. The cub's ear-like appendages perked up. Marcus held up the bone. "Is this for me?" The cub made a sound somewhere between a chirp and a growl, then disappeared into its den. Over breakfast, Marcus showed the bone to Dr. Sarah Okonkwo, the head xenobiologist. She nearly dropped her coffee. "You're telling me a juvenile Cravathi brought you this?" Sarah turned the bone over in her hands, her eyes wide with excitement. "Marcus, do you understand what this means? That I have weird taste in friends? That they're more intelligent than we thought?" Sarah was practically bouncing. "We've been observing them for months. They're tool users, yes, but gift-giving? That implies understanding of reciprocity, social contracts. This is incredible." Word spread through the outpost quickly. Within hours, the entire scientific team knew about Marcus's unusual exchange with the cub. Some wanted to study it formally. Others worried about establishing patterns of interaction that could disrupt the species' natural development. Marcus listened to all of it, then made his decision. "I'm not turning this into a research project. The cub gave me a gift. I'm going to treat it like a neighbor, not a lab subject." Dr. Okonkwo pursed her lips but nodded. "Just promise me you'll document everything. Personal logs, okay? From a purely anthropological standpoint, the way humans interact with new species is as interesting as the species themselves." So Marcus started keeping notes. Day 3. Found a shiny piece of metal on my doorstep. Looks like part of a crashed survey drone from before the outpost was established. How far did the cub travel to find this? Day 7. The cub comes closer now. Still won't let me touch it, but sits about 3 meters away while I eat breakfast outside. Named it Bootsy as a joke. The name stuck. Day 12. Bootsy brought a bundle of those purple grass strips today, woven together in a complex pattern. Dr. Okonkwo says the weaving shows cognitive sophistication. I say it's just a thoughtful housewarming gift. Day 20. Accidentally left my work gloves outside. Bootsy took one. Found it in the den later, added to the collection. I'm officially furnishing an alien's home at this point. The other outpost personnel found it amusing at first, then fascinating. A few tried to befriend other Cravathi in the area, but the creatures remained wary. Only Bootsy seemed comfortable around humans, and even then, only around Marcus. "It's because you didn't chase," Sarah explained one evening over dinner. "When Bootsy took your boot, you could have retrieved it. You chose not to. That established trust." "I prefer to think I have a sparkling personality," Marcus replied, grinning. But he understood what Sarah meant. Humans had a peculiar talent for befriending things. Throughout Earth's history, people had domesticated wolves into dogs, trained hawks to hunt, even befriended wild dolphins and whales. It wasn't dominance, it was something else. A willingness to see another creature as a potential companion rather than a resource or threat. The gifts continued. Some were practical, like smooth stones perfect for skipping across the small pond near the outpost. Others were bizarre, like the time Bootsy presented Marcus with what appeared to be a carefully arranged pile of exactly 17 seed pods. No more, no less. Marcus reciprocated in his own way. He'd leave out food scraps, though he was careful to only offer things Sarah confirmed were safe for Cravathi digestion. He repaired the broken solar panel piece and set it up near Bootsy's den, angled to catch the morning sun. The way Bootsy's fur shimmered in the reflected light seemed to please the cub immensely. 2 months into their strange friendship, a supply ship arrived with replacement equipment, including new boots for Marcus. The pilot, a gruff woman named Torres, listened to the story of the boot and the cub while unloading cargo. "Only a human," she said, shaking her head with amusement. would accidentally befriend an alien by charging it rent in footwear. What can I say? Marcus helped carry a crate of spare parts. We're adaptable. That night, as Marcus sat outside his quarters, watching Viridian 7's twin moons rise, Bootsy approached closer than ever before. The cub sat just an arm's length away, close enough that Marcus could see the individual strands of silver-blue fur, the intelligence flickering in those oversized eyes. "You know, Bootsy," Marcus said quietly, "people back on Earth wouldn't believe this. An alien creature understanding the concept of rent and paying it back with gifts. But I think that's the thing about consciousness, wherever it shows up. We all understand fairness, exchange, companionship. Maybe those aren't human concepts at all. Maybe they're universal." Bootsy made a soft, chittering sound, almost like agreement. Marcus reached out slowly, palm up, not grabbing, just offering. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then Bootsy leaned forward and touched its nose to Marcus's palm. The contact lasted only a second before the cub pulled back, but it was enough. "Rent paid in full, buddy," Marcus whispered. "Rent paid in full." As he headed inside for the night, Marcus glanced back one more time. Bootsy sat in the purple grass, silhouetted against the moonlight, a lone creature who'd lost a parent but found something else instead. A neighbor, a friend. And somewhere in a den between two rocks, a human boot sat among an alien's treasures, a reminder that even across the vast distances of space, separated by evolution and biology and countless differences, some things remained constant. The simple joy of connection, the universal language of give and take, and the very human ability to find family in the strangest places, even if that family had 6 legs, silver-blue fur, and a habit of stealing footwear. Marcus smiled as he closed the door. Tomorrow he'd leave out some of the fresh fruit from the supply ship. Bootsy had more than earned it. After all, good tenants deserved rewards, no matter what planet they called home. And if anyone asked why humanity kept pushing outward into the galaxy, kept establishing outposts on distant worlds, kept reaching for the stars, despite the loneliness and danger, Marcus thought he had an answer now. Because everywhere we went, we found new friends. And that, more than anything, was what made humans special. Not their technology or their determination or their adaptability, though those mattered too. It was their willingness to look at something completely alien and see not a monster or a resource, but a potential neighbor who just needed someone to understand them. Even if understanding started with a stolen boot and a bone left on a doorstep at dawn.